Hello and welcome back to another video on the rest mate and to another edition of Smackdown Out of 10. And of course it's a big episode of Smackdown today because it is the last episode of Friday Night Smackdown before the Elimination Chamber. We've got some big matches on there, including Rhea Ripley and Io Sky versus Lash Legend and Nia Jax for the Women's Tag Team Championship, and the Chamber participants mating one last time. But before the show began, WWE ran an angle during the commercial break showing Jey Uso unconscious backstage after an apparent attack. When the show went live, he was shown being loaded into an ambulance, and Jacob Fatu went with him. Drew McIntyre came to the ring denying being the attacker to get ahead of the accusations. Nick Aldis came out and ordered him to go to his office. Cody came out looking for a fight, but Drew said he would gain nothing. Rhodes said McIntyre's been running for his entire reign, as Randy Orton showed up and said he feels bad for Jey, but his only concern is winning the Chamber. Trick arrived next. It didn't take long for Javon Evans and LA Knight to come out. Knight and Williams began fights, ending up backstage. The Viper nailed Evans with an RKO before staring down Cody. While this eventually turned into a segment of the official preview, the more erratic route to get to it, considering how many people were involved, this didn't last as long as expected, which is a good thing. Sometimes short and sweet is the right way to go. We then got Solo Sikoa come out with a lantern for his match against Uncle Howdy. For once, Solo Sikoa wasn't flanked by everyone else from the MFTs. Howdy backed Sikoa to the corner and stared at him until Solo shoved him away. They kept things pretty simple in the early moments, but things picked up once they eventually started throwing hands. Howdy has the upper hand for a couple of minutes, but Sikoa rammed his face into the middle turnbuckle as the show cut for a break. We returned from Sikoa hit Samoa and dropped for an earfall. The match had fun moments, but as a whole it fell a bit flat. For a feud that's been built up to be personal, it didn't feel like these two wrestlers hate each other. It lacked the kind of the necessary story until Sikoa tried to hit Sister again instead of his own finisher. Howdy applied the mandible collar, but Sikoa broke free, ended up running right into Howdy's arm for the Sister Girls to give him a clean win, reclaiming the lantern, but only for a moment. The MFTs attacked him from behind and stole it again. The feud could and should have ended here, but this will keep it going until its expiration date. So yeah, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. After a few backstage segments and another break, Stratton took on Sane because Oscar wanted to stay fresh for the Chamber. Chelsea Green and Albafire came to watch the match from the commentary desk. Tiffany and Kyrie traded some quick takedowns. Stratton took control and hit a slingshot crossbody over the top rope when Sane tried to take a breather at ringside. Having Sane take Oscar's place felt like a bait and switch, but Sane doesn't get enough ring time these days, so it was welcome. She and Stratton have only had a few matches before this, so it's nice to get a fresh pair. They picked up some steam in the second half of a pretty physical fight. Had a couple of hiccups, but the good outweighed the bad, and after Sane accidentally took out Green, Stratton hit with the prettiest moonsault ever for the win. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. The Miz then made his way to the ring to take on Femi before the next break. He looked scared as Femi entered the ring feeling confident. Miz grabbed the mic and said they don't have to fight because nobody wants to see it. The crowd disagreed with him, but he kept trying to talk his way out of it, telling Femi he wants to be the type of locker room leader who monitors him. The ruler asked the crowd if he should join forces with the Miz, which got a resounding no from the fans. Femi proceeded to dismantle the former WWE champion. He countered the skull-crushing finale and threw Miz across the ring before hitting a fall from grace for a quick win. This was an extended squash that had more talking than fighting. Femi looked dominant, but the only reason itself was nothing special. It was getting a lower grade because it kind of did exactly what it needs to do and kept everyone happy. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. Carmelo Hayes then took on Matt Cardona for the US champion, and we already knew it wasn't being Dragunov, so yeah, the former Zack Ryder getting through it was nice. He got a near fall with a nice drop kick. Melo fired back with his own, but Cardona dodged the second attempt and then hit a boot to the face. We returned from a break to see Cardona in control, started building momentum, but he was stealing his left arm before being injured. While this might not have lived up to some of the other recent title defences from Hayes, it was still a solid performance. And yeah, it was nice to see WWE using Cardona. The challenger came close a few times, but Hayes got the win, and they shook hands to show respect. So yeah, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. As we then moved on to Candice LeRae, who practically had to force Johnny Gargano to come through for the match against Jordan Grace. As soon as the ref called for the bell, Grace took LeRae down and started beating on her. The Juggernaut ran into an elbow, and LeRae followed out with a quick series of moves, but couldn't get the pin. Gargano tried to get up and started walking away, which distracted LeRae enough for Grace to hit her with a pump handle suplex for the win. A short, uneventful, and the finish fell completely flat. LeRae and Grace have a few good moves, but it wasn't enough to save this match, and the weird stuff with Gargano as well. 4 out of 10. As we then moved on to the women's tag team titles, and the last time they faced it ended without a definitive winner, so yeah, they're looking to settle the feud. Legend and Sky started with a few counters before Ripley tagged them for a double team attack. Jax and Legend tried to regroup at ringside, but the chance went after them. The challengers Miz caught them and swung them into the barricade a few times, doing a good job to make this feel like a physical fight, but most of the match was missing this kind of intensity you would expect, and the way their last encounter ended, it just felt too choreographed in places. They brought more energy to the second half, so the crowd started to get a little more excited. They fought through 2 commercial breaks, so this ended up being the longest match of the night. Even though they made this more entertaining in the back half, it felt a little disjointed in places. This might have been one of the rare instances where shorter would have been better. Lashley was able to pin Ripley to win the titles for her and Jack, so it's been an interesting development, and yeah, I think their title reign could be intriguing, so I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. This week's main event saw Paul and Fatu fight for the open spot in the chamber. Heyman and Theory accompanied Paul to the ring, but Fatu was flying solo. Theory distracted Fatu so Paul could get the advantage, but Fatu quickly recovered and started laying him out with clotheslines. He nailed the social media superstar over suicide divers who went to the final break. It's probably more competitive than it should have been. Fatu should have dominated Paul a lot more than he did, but they did their best to make it feel competitive. Heyman interfered to help Paul, but they were unable to keep the Sperm Werewolf down for the pin. The Masked Man showed up, super kicked Theory, but he was taken out by Paul and unmasked. It was some random guy we've never seen before. McIntyre showed up attacking Paul while the ref was distracted, allowing Paul to get the win. Not only did we get an unsatisfying ending to the match, but the Masked Man was a huge letdown, unless it's kind of a swerve, which I kind of hope it is. So yeah, otherwise, this main event segment, I think it's fair to say, wasn't really ideal. 5 out of 10. Overall, SmackDown this week gets a 5 out of 10 from me. It devoted a lot of time to building up the chamber, which makes sense of the Go Home show, but it was lacking in some areas. Hayes and Cardona had a good match, but it wasn't really a high bar compared to the others. The injury angle felt rushed with Uso, and the Masked Man was a bit underwhelming. So yeah, I would say on the whole, unfortunately, a pretty mediocre episode of SmackDown this week. I'm going to go at 5 out of 10. That's it for this video. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe, follow us on our socials, link in the description below for daily wrestling news, meme and content. Subscribe to our other channels on screen right now, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.